And here we are, the end of Tomb Raider Anniversary. I have to say, I'm not a fan of that pulsating mass there. I'm slightly nervous about it, if I'm honest.
You've reached the top, Lara. There's nowhere left to go but down.
You're rebuilding the army of Atlantis.
This pyramid breeds far more than the soldiers you've faced. With the Scion, I now have the means to create anything I desire.
What is it you desire, Natla?
It takes 3 to rule. Tihocan and Qualopec were too weak to destroy what stands in the way of the 7th Age. But you have the strength to claim this seat beside me. Immortality has its price. But what are a few lives to sacrifice for your dreams?
This is madness.
This is what you've been searching for. The answers you've sought your entire life are within the Scion. Everything you've done has led you to this place. You're here because you belong here, Lara. That's who you are.
I'm sorry, Father.
Oh god, I knew I didn't like that pulsating mass. Jesus. So here we are, the final conflict. We are starting off this with a fight against the Abomination, or Legless Mutant, or whatever the hell you want to call him. Or Torso Boss, if you really wish to call him that, because he is literally just a torso, arms and a head. Once again, his model in the original game is probably slightly more terrifying, because it's a lot more, well, brightly coloured and alien. It's creepy as all hell. Now, as seems to be the case with a lot of the bosses in this game, you can't kill him normally just by shooting at him. Essentially, you've got to get him to fall over the edge of the platform here. And to do that, you need to destroy his arm, essentially. And drop him into the drink. Now, it's a surprisingly easy fight when you know what you're doing and don't get tricked out of just pulling things off nice and neatly. In the original Tomb Raider, you could literally just shoot him and he would die eventually. And it generally would throw you about. So it's probably more difficult in the original. But still, you don't have to do anything fancy with it. Now, the cutscene that you saw beforehand, it's very interesting what they did with that cutscene. Because it's very, even though it hits the same story moments, you have Natla and Lara talk at the top of the pyramids. Natla and Lara fall over the edge and have a scramble, and Lara kind of manages to save herself and drop Natla down the pit. But in general, it's a very different feeling. Because in the original, I believe, Natla talks about her motive is to kind of reset things and basically evolve a stronger race of people, because she sees humanity as weak. And yeah, that's her plan. And she also says something along the lines of, "It's too late to stop this abortion now." So yeah, it's slightly dark, the conversation that happens there in the original, whereas here it becomes a lot more fantastical, and Natla is in her Atlantean garments rather than still in her business suit. I have to say, I'm wondering where she got that outfit, because it didn't look like she brought any kind of sort of bags with her, with which to keep all that, and obviously having those wings kind of scooped in somehow magically must have been really painful, especially in that dress suit, which was really, really tight. Now, this section can be a little challenging, because you have got to deal with more crawling Atlanteans and winged Atlanteans and all sorts. It's from what I can gather, it's very, very, very different from the original level bit that takes place in between the fight with the Abomination and our inevitable final boss battle. So yeah, I just find it quite funny how that they managed to be so different from the original game's plot, and yet still hit the same beats as they went along, and still make it make sense. It's just quite cool. Also, we have switches to pull. You're probably better off going for the one over the pit of lava first, purely because then if you mess up, then it's not as much of a problem. You don't have to redo everything all over again. Whereas, if you pull that one first and then do the second one, you're gonna have to redo it. Which is not fun. At all. And this thing here is kind of useless. It does serve a very distinct purpose, although you're not going to realise that until we get a little bit further in to the level. Yeah, another thing that they changed quite a lot is Natla's overall design, because the accent in the original is, well, it sounds rather American to my ears. And also kind of like she's got quite short hair and so on and so forth. And then you get to the Natla of this game, and she's very, very angular and gaunt, and she's got the long hair, and she looks rather alien. Now, I do know that there are quite a few people who dislike the redesign. I have to say, I'm probably more inclined to go for a slightly different design of Natla, which I'm not going to bring up just yet. Purely because it's kind of a spoiler for a game that I'm going to be doing at some point. But I prefer that game's Natla to this one and the original, really. Also, I believe... yeah, there he is. I didn't realise I hadn't killed this little blighter. And then the music didn't start up either, so he just managed to sneak up on me, the little git. It's like, seriously, dude, you just have to just be so sneaky. Also, there's just so many winged mutants in this room, it's unreal. Like, really seriously unreal how many they are. Like, wow. Now, pulling that switch is basically what is going to allow us to get one of the final artifacts in the game. Because it was hidden just up on top of this ledge that we just couldn't reach. And you need this crate to get to it. And then we also need the crate to finish the puzzle of the room that we're in. And then essentially, if my memory is serving me correctly, we have a nice short little swim, a single corridor, and then we're basically done with the game. Now, what my brain is doing right now is overcomplicating the matter of what to do here. So it is, I believe, possible to jump from the crate to the ledge that you can see there. However, it requires you to get the crate on just on the edge of the lip of the pit, essentially. And that is easier said than done, to put it bluntly. Also, do try and be very, very careful with the cracks there, because I do believe that it is possible for Lara's foot to get stuck in them. And once Lara's foot is stuck, you are screwed. She will be stuck indefinitely. Now, the smart move for how you're meant to do this room is to climb up and use the little ledges that you can just see on the wall to our left there, because those are the steam vent ledges that we saw in the Great Pyramid level. And that allows us to get to the ever so wonderful grapple ring, and then where we need to be. And there we go, nice and safely over. I have to say, for a final challenge, this isn't that horrible. I think after the Great Pyramid, I was totally expecting something far worse than what this is. And that just didn't happen. Which I don't know whether to say is disappointing, that the greatest challenge in the game isn't in the last level, or just be thankful and this is their apology for putting us through that challenge. So here's our little swim. As I said before, that room above us isn't particularly helpful, apart from notifying us that there is an air vent that we can poke our heads up, so that we don't have to do this swim in one fell swoop, especially if you want to grab stuff. And here we go, this is basically the last corridor that you're going to have to face in the game, and it's covered in lava. Also, I believe that crack there may also be a rather dangerous crack, and just be very, very careful. Now, I believe that it is very, very, very possible to make the jump to that ledge you can see on the left there. It's a very, very long jump. So if you do want to attempt to make that jump, be very, very, very careful. You are a lot more likely to be able to get to this bridge, well, the ladder. And in fact, really, the ladder is how you're meant to get across. So yes, our final artifact is in this room. Well, in this corridor, I should say. Also, I'm still very surprised that Lara isn't dead yet. I mean, she's platforming next to really lava, really, really hot lava. You do not survive being this close to lava for this amount of time. I mean, we have another artifact there. There's more than one here. That isn't our last one. Our last one is a little bit higher up and towards the end of the corridor and requires a little bit of backtracking. But to be honest, I shouldn't be surprised that Lara can handle this amount of heat, considering she ran through that lava room, well, the fire spurting room in Greece, and managed to get through that perfectly okay. And I mean, she survives ship crashes and all sorts. I mean, she gets impaled. Lara's just a regular superwoman, really. Ain't nothing gonna bring her down. Now, our final artifact is literally just a grapple swing away. Well, sort of. It's a little bit more than a grapple swing away. It's a grapple swing and 2 jumps away. But there we go. We have collected every single artifact in the game, as well as every single relic. Oh yeah! And considering at this point, I had not played Tomb Raider Anniversary before, I think I can pat myself on the back and say I did a good job. All things considered. But, here we go. It's time for the final boss of Tomb Raider Anniversary.
Thousands of years I've waited for this moment. Do you realize what you've done? Blood on your hands. Do you believe it was spilled for the good of all man? Or for your own selfish desire? Look inside yourself, Lara. Your heart is as black as mine.
Well, Natla, I would debate that, because, I mean, the evident weak spot on your back is green, and seeing as your body is completely red at present, I would assume that your heart is also red. But I will take your point. Lara is somewhat cold. Now, the way that you defeat Natla here, at least, is shoot her wings until both of them are down. And doing so will then allow us to get into the second phase of the boss battle. The original Tomb Raider also had a 2-phased Natla battle. Natla's design was once again distinctly different. She was still pretty human, she just had her devil wings and torn clothing, in comparison to this rather bizarre Atlantean form.
I cannot die, you fool. Sooner or later, you'll run out of bullets.
Kind of got a bit mistaken there, Natla, because, you know, Lara's pistols have infinite ammo. Like, seriously, you don't stand a chance. So, how this phase works is that Natla is going to shoot fireballs at you, and then basically once you've enraged her, she's going to charge, and then you need to do the adrenaline dodge and firing to basically kill her. You need to get the timing down on your adrenaline dodge though, because otherwise you won't achieve it. This phase of the fight is also quite similar to the second phase of the Natla fight in the original, because it starts flying and then she starts charging, but there's none of this fancy specific dodge moments that cause anything. But yeah, I did find it rather annoying that if you just happen to not dodge at precisely the right moment, you are going to miss out, because you can't stay in adrenaline dodge long enough to fire. However, Natla does go down pretty damn easily. The fireballs are a pain. You can dodge them more balletically than I'm managing. It's just a case of making sure you jump everywhere instead of rolling or doing anything else of that description. But come on, Natla, you're nearly dead, girl. And take that, Natla. And because the game wouldn't be complete without it, here's one final QuickTime event. Or super action, if you still want to call it that.
Nothing but a temporary stay of execution for your kind. This island is just one remnant of Atlantis. I will find another. But you, Lara, you have lost everything.
No, I haven't.
Let's vamoose, Lara. We need to get out of this pyramid before it crumbles. It's rather disappointing that the loading screen is there, because it does really separate that cutscene from this cutscene and doesn't make them flow quite nicely, which is rather disappointing. I mean, it's completely understandable why it happens, but it just kind of makes the ending feel a little bit sloppy. And there we go. Tomb Raider Anniversary is complete. Now, something that I've just noticed is that this is the only time that Lara's game is going to end with a boat going off into the sunset. They use that visual cue elsewhere in the franchise, shall we say. I will bring it up again when it becomes apparent. If you have played the game in question, you'll understand why I suddenly find that quite intriguing that they decided to do that. But either way, so it's Tomb Raider Anniversary. I have to say, I'm really glad that I got to play it. Just because now I can say that I've played the Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider trilogy, and it kind of just proved to me that I do prefer this older style of Tomb Raider to what has happened to her. It's not necessarily that I completely prefer Lara in this iteration, because she is very much sort of a cold, badass heroine rather than a human being. But I preferred the platforming focus and the puzzle-solving focus. The combat comes into it, but isn't its primary focus. And then obviously it makes great use of mythology, which I'm a massive fan of, as I've told you many, many times. So, this game does have issues. There are quite a few bugs and so on and so forth, and I'm not a fan of the way that the loading screens break up all of the, how shall I put it? All of the cutscenes, really. They just make things awkward. They destroy the flow of the story, and just in general, the whole music issue that I've brought up many times just grates on me a little bit. It's just the whole thing of, I think it's just more what I'm used to, because I am personally used to having music play in video games a lot and constantly, and silence is only used sparingly. And I like that usage of music. And this game kind of turns that on its head, in that it's mostly silent apart from Lara's footsteps in order to create the idea that you're alone, and then uses music to punctuate moments. And I don't think that works quite as well. I mean, the concept works better when it's used in the reboots, in the sense of, but that's mostly because the songs are longer and kind of flow through with the moment, and it's very dynamically done, far more so than it is here. Also, I'm really not a fan of these credits. They're just as bad as the Tomb Raider Legend one, really. And I can't remember whether Tomb Raider Underworld does any better. Doing credits is a very difficult thing to get right, from what I've seen, because you've got to have a very specific theme that allows you to get through, and I personally feel that you should, whenever you're doing credits, if you want people to read them or watch them, make them interesting, make people want to see them. Greatest examples of what they do in a lot of films, or, well, they do a different thing in games where you get to play during the credits. Playing during the credits is a very fun thing, and something I wholeheartedly recommend, because whenever it's happened, it's just a lot of fun. But also just doing very innovative credits. I mean, like, the credits to Wreck-It Ralph, for example. Some of my favourite credits in film. the Lego Movie also does a great job of having interesting credits, and this is just rather bland, if I'm honest. Thankfully, it doesn't feel quite as long as the Tomb Raider Legend credits. I don't know why, it's probably actually a bit longer. But either way, we have reached the end of the story of Tomb Raider Anniversary, but we're not quite done just yet. We still have Croft Manor to look through, and a bunch of extras, because Tomb Raider Anniversary comes with a lot of stuff to look at, so that's what we'll be covering, the extras. And as the music decides to finish, well, the credits continue to roll, they're still rolling, they're not finished yet. I would just like to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you join me for the extras, because they are certainly going to be interesting. And, yes, I will see you all in the next playthrough and walkthrough.